Climate change is the current warming of the Earth's climate due to human activity, and if left unchecked, as the current responses are not making anything to put it at a halt, it could threaten an unprecedented crisis to human civilization and the ecosystem. But at this question I always ask, as a group, as an individual or a state, do we believe we can redress and change our ways and styles so that we can change for the future? On this week's episode of The Key Point, I have 3 guests in the studios to talk about climate change, clarifying the rules for immediate action. On my immediate right, I have Mr. Latif Wali, who is going to be a regular pundit on the show. And I have Miss Maimuna, who is here with us, and Mr. Daniel, also a regular on the show. So without much time to waste, we are going to delve much more into climate. But you know, we always have experts. People who are already in the field telling us what climate change is and all that. But maybe a young student or a young person, an ordinary person at home, will be wondering, every day we hear climate change. So what exactly is climate change? Let's start with Mr. Latif Wali.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jerry. I think climate change in the simplest terms is a lot of materials, like fossil fuels that we use that bring something like a heat to the world, to the whole globe, that now leads to a lot of natural disasters. And among these natural disasters, we have heat, we have the agriculture productivity reduction, we have the water insecurity, we have flooding, we have collapse of ecosystems, and then we have also the health risk that will be increasing and all those stuff. In 2015, with the Paris Agreement, and the objective behind was a reduction of climate change to 2 degrees Celsius, like in parentheses, which is 1.5, and by 2050 to go to 0 degrees Celsius. And this is where we are now, but still there are a lot of difficulties due to a lot of political issues, due to a lot of economical issues, due to leadership issues and trust. And, we still have these injustices and disparities between developing and developed countries, which is now causing a lot of hell. This is what climate change is all about.
Okay, I already picked some of the things. I could equally add air pollution as well, because in China, that is one of the other effects of climate change. So, Miss Maimuna, you are welcome for this first episode of the show. So what can you tell us in the simple terms on climate change?
Yeah, I'll just add to what Wally said. Okay. If we just think Earth as a blanket, we take it as a blanket, is like, the blanket something that can protect us. Protect us. Yeah. But if we are using much more fossil fuel, we are cutting trees, we are not like, we are making more pollution than we should. That we are adding some extra blanket to our planet. Okay. So that blanket can not that so protect us, and the planet can get so much heat, and the weather will be like changing, and the meteorology is like we have some variabilities. Sometimes we have dry, sometimes we have floods, sometimes we have much more like rainfall. Sometimes we do not have like the same thing that we had before. And we can talk about climate change as basically to someone that doesn't know what we're talking about. We're talking about climate change. That extra blanket are causing a lot of problems, like
the rising sea levels,
and all those things. That's what I can add to what Wally said.
Okay. That is a good submission. In talking about blanket, I think even in our homes, when we want to avoid mosquitoes, we put some sort of blanket. Or if you want to avoid cold, we put some sort of blanket. So in some way, our human activities that we do, maybe instead of having that cold for just a short period of time, become extended. Or if we need to have that heat in a short period of time, it becomes extended, if I get a little bit from your submission. So, Mr. Daniel, what do you have for us on climate change?
Okay, thank you very much. Protocol means a lot to me, so let me send a quick one. My greetings to, the lovely viewers outside there. Climate change is not something new.
Yeah.
And I would just like to break it down for people to understand that it is the world weather over a very long period
of time.
And it means the way rain used to fall, the way the sunshine, the way the world temperature used to be, the way, the disappearance of animals used to be in the past. This thing happened and have been happening for a very long time. And the way it used to be happening, those days, it take like 100 of years, 200 of years, even 1,000 years before you will hear there's a natural disaster or, climate change issues. But today, it is more critical. Every single year, we have rainfall issues. We bring, floods all over, the place. And, the warming situation, is about how, the sun is shining nowadays because the ozone layer that is supposed to protect, the sunshine from the human activities. And
which is a blanket Miss Maimuna was referring to.
Exactly, it's not in a good shape because of human, activities. So that's, the small thing I can say about, the climate change issues for now here.
Now, when I was coming for the show, I was having a conversation with a colleague who told me that even when we leave our homes and we don't put off our lights, or maybe at times we are going to do something we know will keep long, but we leave the television on, phone overcharge, and all those things, they also constitute things that can relate to climate change. Yep. Is that very true?
Yeah, it is true, but I think these are minor things, okay? Because we need to be also realistic about some couple of things, because when we talk about climate change, there are minor things that we don't have also to close our eyes on, because we do have our parents that do a lot of stuff. For example, we have AC in the room, and when you don't turn off the AC, like when you overuse AC, it is heat that's going outside, and this is also bringing that to the globe. It's also contributing one way or the other. Our grandmoms are cutting down trees to make firewood, and civil societies are trying to make us understand that this also contributes to climate change. I do agree with that, but I think these are minor ones. We're going to talk about major ones because
let's start with you on the major ones. Because
the major ones are this, because we have a lot of countries, like developed countries, that are polluting the air.
I think they are the great polluters.
They are the great polluters, and we are the one paying the prices. So the problem is this: like, instead of they trying to reduce the pollution for us to reduce the effect of climate change, they are saying no for economic reasons. They continue polluting. And now they're telling me to go and tell my grandma to stop
using the charcoal or the
exactly.
cutting down of
Do you understand? So this is how crazy this issue about climate change is. But also, as an advocate, we need also to say, yes, even these are minor things. This is also our space. This is Africa. These are the little things we do, but we also need to
contribute
rethink and
reduce climate change. So, Mr. Daniel, let's come back to you before Maimuna. He said something which I picked that, when we are in a situation where our economy is not that good, imagine, for example, in my village, I don't have the ability to use gas or other renewable energies. We'll come to the other solutions, though, but it's wood that is abundant in my village, and wood can give me firewood for me to cook, to warm my home and do other things. It will be difficult for me to actually decide not to use it because I don't have any other alternative. So what are some of the other things that you think individuals do that could lead to climate? It might even be minor, it can be major, but let's deal with the major ones.
Yeah, and I would like to, frame something up right here that all people do otherwise is minor to them.
Yes.
So if you consider the situation minor, you keep doing it, and one day
it begins to pile up. Yes.
It is like a ball of snow. Once it sets rolling, it must increase. So let's say, especially Africa, there are some activities we do not focus on. People used to, extract, natural resources from the sea. I'm a coastal guy. When you go to the beach, you see people fetching the sand and the gravels to sell to others for, to survive for their economical purposes. And doing this over years, when there are heavy storm on the seas, the sea keep coming,
pushing forward,
and not knowing that this little activities also leads to this kind of situation. And also, I can say the mismanagement of waste. Nowadays, how we throw rubber, polythene, all around the community, this also have effect on the, climate change issue we are talking about. The flood issue we are having right away, the majority part is because of, you know, plastic waste pollution that we are going through. And I can also point one interesting thing, the transport aspect. You know,
I think that's the bigger bone to crack.
And nowadays we are using transport a lot, and we are producing, you know, carbon dioxide, and the emission of carbon dioxide is very, very critical. But, you know, thank God, in this country, our brilliant president is trying a move, and now we have electric, you know, motors, which one way or the other lower the emission of, you know, carbon dioxide.
Even coming to that briefly, I think there's an issue with buying fuel these days, and people are increasing the prices and all that. But don't you think it would equally be an opportunity for maybe some organizations or entities that deal with the electric motors and vehicles to come in, for example, at this moment and maybe offer solutions? Maybe people can bring their old, fuel-based vehicles and then come for the new ones. Wouldn't that be also good?
Yeah, but it's about the cash, you know, because right now, while I was talking about the implementation of electric motors in Togo right now, they are quite expensive than the fuel motors we used to buy. Okay. So you need to see the economical situation of the country first, and this one is a call on to the government. If really they want this situation to be solved, they have to see through that this kind of, you know, innovation coming to this part of our world to stop the emission of carbon dioxide in our society, you know, possible by reducing prices of, you know, this innovation coming to the community.
Yeah, before we come to Miss Maimuna, I was also speaking with another colleague earlier about the buildings we have. I mean, when there are landslides and all that, some of the buildings collapse and all that, some of those debris from them can equally constitute, climate change in terms of maybe soil erosion and other things. But the thing is that sometimes it is difficult to associate a particular field or danger to climate change, which is one of the issues I have. When you spoke about when people pull the sand and gravel from the sea, somebody doesn't see how that will constitute climate change. But when we come to the solution, maybe you'll be able to tell me how we can, deal with such an information to get to the people. So, Miss Maimuna.
Yeah, I would just tackle the part he talked about, electric motor. Okay. We're talking about that we're using fossil fuel, like all those before having an electricity, we have to use fossil fuel. Yes, right? Yes. So we are using it a lot. That is something causing climate change. Okay. And we can maybe, I think, when he was talking, I was like, why should we use electrical motor than maybe solar? Okay. Something like solar motors or solar.
So you believe solar is more convenient than electric?
Why not? Because it's renewable energy, right? So why not thinking about those
the
solar
two have
motors,
something to say. So let's let the lady finish.
But because the case of fossil fuel is like we use much more what we have to use now. Since 2 August, we are like we are in debt to the nature. So we have to think about what should we change, what should we use now instead of using those fossil fuel. We're talking about emission of dioxide. Yeah, we have those industry that like making those motors or
for the industry to work, they need to use fossil fuels.
Yeah, and they are like putting more than they are releasing more emission of gases, all those things than they should, because they have to work much more than they're doing before. And I can talk about deforestation too. Where we're talking about our grandmothers
cutting down trees
in the village. They have to cut those trees to have firewood and all those things. We have to like sensibilize them and educate them on climate change. What should they do? Why not using biogas? Why not like thinking renewable energy than thinking about
just a transition from coal to
just
electric.
Transition to those that we have a lot of solutions that we can we can implement.
Okay, I think my two guests want to go on something, but before then, viewers, you can watch us every Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10:30 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. Follow us on Facebook, the KEYPOINT with double I, and also on YouTube, the New World TV, the KEYPOINT playlist. We'll go for a quick break. We'll be right back. Thanks and welcome back. We are still on the KEYPOINT TV show. We are talking about climate change, clarifying the rules for immediate action. In the earlier session, we were talking about how simply we can understand climate change, some of the activities that human beings indulge in that constitute or contribute to climate change. Now, Miss Maimuna made a submission, but I think my two gentlemen won't have something to say. So let's start with Daniel.
I think there is something we need to clarify. This world can never do without the emission of carbon dioxide. We will be needing them in our daily life as far as the human race keep on increasing. So what we can do is the management. That's why even when you go to the climate justice activists, they will tell you you can never do without this instinct. People will extract natural resources. Even the farming activities we do,
some of them also generate
climate change. Because let's take an example for America. They are more into agriculture, and their goal is to feed the other world, and by doing that they clear even heavy space for that to happen.
Mass production.
And doing that they are causing problem, and you'll be surprised that the United States of America, they are just 4% of the world population, but their total emission of carbon dioxide is like 20% of the total emission of the world. So you get me? But they are trying to find food for the rest of the world. So what we can do is sometimes we can shift from one side. Let's take an example. You get a motor. You are using electricity. So why not using electricity and leaving the fuel side? You get me? So sometimes you can decide to shift on one side instead of using all the aspect of the
why not going to just transition, just leave the electricity, just leave the fuel, and
go to solar.
About solar or biogases or all those things.
No, go ahead.
You have the floor.
And as you said, you have to manage, we have to manage. But how are you going to manage if you are not going to stop it? Even if we can stop it, you can go in through that first, and maybe educating people to go in through that. Everybody can go through just transition, but you have to start. Even if it's not in Africa, they have to start, since they are the one polluting.
I think he wants to. Well, hold on. Let me come to Mr. Wali first.
I do like the discussion. I do like the idea behind, the promotion of, fighting against climate change and all those stuff, right? So this is how critical and dangerous it is. I do agree with that, and we need to find solution. I'm okay with that. But how can we be very realistic about the solution? This is where the problem is. Listen, it is good for us to be talking about the solar option, the solar option, and for me it's very hypocritical.
Only solar. I'm
coming. Let me give two examples. Okay. If this is the solution, if this is what we're going to use, we had a company here in Togo that was making solar electric cars in this country. Okay. That company is now closed. Why? Nobody knows. How? Nobody knows. What's the reason behind it? Nobody knows. The point is this. We have also a lot of companies that are making fuel cars that are persecuting our government to be closing these types of companies. If really we have this climate action into whatever we do, this company shouldn't have been closed. And this is even normally should be contributing to the economy of this country. I'm coming. Hold on. I'm coming. Let me, the second point. Okay. The second point is this. If the solar energy is the best solution in South Africa, they were pushed by Western countries to the solar energy solution, and they left the traditional electricity they were doing. Just last month, they started having power shortage.
To every action, there are consequences, Jerry. Or there are trials and failures.
No, the point is this: we shouldn't be lied, and especially sometimes being used by some country, by polluters usually. This is where my problem is. By polluters. We are used by polluters. Now, the point is this. If we are going to try this, why don't they try it themselves first? For them to fall into that problem.
I think that's the hypocritical aspect you said.
Is the hypocritical
I think I understand it from that perspective.
Yes. Okay. Now, can I finish my point?
Go ahead.
Yeah, go.
Good. Now, the point is this. the polluters that are normally supposed to be either contributing into the solution or helping the poor countries that are normally victims of it,
okay,
to be like finding very quick solution to that, they're the first to be withdrawing from
the treaties
and all those
yes,
stuff.
yes.
So how like realistic is this going to be? Should we always be sitting down and talking about like solutions here just like that without even thinking of the main thing to do? We are just forgetting the main thing, and I'm talking about my grandma that is cutting the trees at home.
Okay. No, just figure
I like
out
the piece
those solutions that you think that we can put on.
No, we'll come to the solutions actually. But let's go to the main focus. We want to clarify the roles so that we can have that immediate action. So first of all, you guys have all participated in some sort of way in climate conferences and camps and the rest. So talking about organizations, let me start with Ms. Maimuna. What are some of the roles that organizations or associations that deal with climate, what are some of the things they can do so that we can get closer to either eliminating or minimizing the effects of climate change?
No, like international organization.
It can be locally based, it can be international.
Advocate, activists.
Yes, those such groups.
Yeah, I think that they can put pressure on policy makers, and they can like figure out some solution that they want, and they should mobilize people. They should mobilize some activists, other activists to put pressure. I like saying that you have to put pressure on those policy makers. They have to like listen to what you are saying, to put into account, to take into account what you want,
Don't you think they listen? But it's probably the commitment that they don't.
No, they're not listening. They are, yes, we can hear what you are saying, but what are they doing
exactly
later? What they are doing later when they like. They have their conferences and they're just sitting down writing what they want and how they want it. They are all based on like economic aspects or their profit, but they are not thinking about the next generation. Even if you put pressures, even if you shout, even if you mash, they will say, yes, we heard what you are saying, we take it into account. But what are they doing it with? They can put it, they're talking about inclusion. They can take you,
add you to
they can add you to what they are doing it, but you don't have the right to talk. Okay. Even if you go to the negotiation at the COPs, are you able to say something? Are you able to to raise up your voice? Why? It's like, you just there. They take you, it's because they should. It's because it is written.
So there's a lot of bureaucracy involved?
So it's like those organizations should put pressure on policy makers. They have to educate our communities to how to behave.
If I can put it in a wrap, you want the organizations, whether local or international, to exert much pressure on the policy makers, which are most often in government or other major institutions, to understand that whatever is happening now, it is the next generation that is going to affect. So they should be able to take decisions that will make things better for the next generations, as they are not the ones who have caused major of the problem. So
we not the one to.
Exactly. So Mr. Daniel, let's look at the aspect of environmentalists and activists themselves. I mean, as an individual, maybe if you are a climate advocate or a climate enthusiast, an activist or climate change activist, you as a person, what can you do?
Okay, this one, let me do it quick before I come to the question.
Okay.
Before, we need to be fair to, international organization, because they are doing a lot.
Okay.
If we say they are not doing anything, it won't be helpful. Because when you take example, the World Bank and the UN, they are organizing program, funding activities. Actually, when you go to Somalia and Ethiopia, where people are hit by, flood, drought, and farming activities, these people goes for humanitarian, missions and help these people out of their crisis. Though they are not by force, the direct cause of their misfortune, but they try to assist people. And even when you take our environmental, activists, they get funding from this, international organization for their project. The recent COP in Morocco, I think.
No, Sharm
el Sheikh.
Many people were taking there for free. They didn't pay for their flights. and they were educated,
Even the flight is also constituting climate change.
Yeah, but when they are there, what is the next?
Yeah, but when they go to the program, the information and how innovation, they sponsor innovation. I can talk about Start Togo. I don't know, you know Start Togo, Mr. Bema. They are transforming plastic, into material that the population can be reusing, like recycling. They get funding from such institute, they get award, and they are encouraged. But now let me come to the question.
As an individual.
As an individual, sometimes we do not believe our personal act have impact on the society. Somebody will just drink a sachet of water and throw the rubber anywhere in the street. People check when there is raining, and they collect waste or the garbage in their house. They throw it inside into gutters, and these things all contribute to climate change. So as individual, you need to be conscious of our acts. When you are in your kitchen, you prepare. Even you can do the recycling yourself. Things that are not supposed to go into the dustbin, you try to put them separate.
To reuse them.
Like these small things.
Actions,
Like even how we burn things. I will give a small example. The phone battery that you used to use, when you read on them, it is well written that after the use, you do not drop it into the dustbin.
Yes.
But people, after your phone got damaged, how do you do? You just throw it anywhere. But we are in a world of chemical actions. Anything happen around us is chemical. So when you are doing these little activities too, it leads to climate damage, and we all face the consequences.
But you, as an individual or an activist in a community, do you think you would have that? I don't want to use the word effrontery, but I think, let me pardon that, to probably go to a local official or maybe a chief or whatever to say perhaps that, okay, I have noticed this and this problem in my community, I would want to do this, and you think they would, I don't know, take you serious? Is there any possibility?
Yeah, for sure. But even you don't need to inform somebody. And I'll give you my typical example. I was a member of the Environmental Club of Bagida. And what do? Some weekends, we decide to go around and pick the pure water chartered robbers in the community. And when we pick them, there's somewhere they buy those kind of things.
Yeah, I've heard of some of them.
We group students, we go around and we pick all these sachets, and then we go and sell. The small money we make, we use for the club. So there are some activities you don't need to be sponsored for before you do them. You get me? When you see something is not going well in your community, even the garbage centers we have nowadays, people throw anything anywhere. But as a young person in your community, and you know that this thing is not helping us, because if you see and you do not talk about that, when the sea level rise one day, it will not know you and it will not know another person. We are all going to be part. Recently, the harbor of Togo, there was a little storm at the harbor of Togo, right? I didn't know you people are informed about that. And 4 fishermen, they are gone like that. You get me? And these are these little things we are supposed to do. If you see someone extracting soil from the sea, gravel from the sea, you report them to the authority in place for measures to be taken.
So, Mr. Latif, we'll quickly deal with, sharing some of the information, experiences you've had at these climate conferences and camps, and then we'll look at the solutions in a mix. So
I think we can talk about all this without talking about KEYPOINT Togo. He mentioned that Mr. Gado Bema is one of the organizations that have been doing a lot as far as climate change is concerned in this country, and he said it again. Thank you so much, Mr. Gado Bema, for what you're doing, at least, But I will still be realistic, and people will hate me for that, right? Let's start with the organizations. Yes, she said something that is very important. People get free flight tickets and travel to climate conferences. When they come back, period, everything stops there. Nobody knows what are they doing after all. How do they, even though sometimes they have good ideas, but there is no even support from a government even to do whatever a solution as climate action. The next thing is, as individuals, what should we do? Yes, it's very easy to say, we shouldn't pour trashes and all those stuff, right? I do agree with that, okay? But apart from that, do we have very concrete things that we need to be doing apart from just trashes? But what else? Do we use what do we call them? Assets, renewable assets? No. And usually this is how it goes. even renewable assets are they cost even more than like the traditional one we were using. We were normally supposed to put aside. And there is something even I was expecting her to say. There is even discrimination about like the impact climate change has on all of us. Okay. Women suffer the most from climate change than us men.
In what context? I mean, we are all living beings.
Okay. Normally, we should also have women part of the decision makers, like in the governments, in the UN system, because they are more vulnerable for them to more participate into.
No, if you say that, I have. Wait, hold on. I've been to as an interpreter for a conference that the larger part of the participants were all women, and they are even in positions higher than that. Nice one. So I don't you see. Let's not go a bit off. I mean, let's just come to the grounds. Okay. I don't think there is an issue of gender parity or disparity when it comes to this, because you can still be a woman there and might still not be very concerned about climate change. You can equally be a man and still not be concerned much about climate change. It is true, when we talk about sanitation in terms of maybe the menstrual pad aspect, for example, then we can talk about some of the materials that are being used to create such things may affect women if they are not healthy, because men don't menstruate, so they may not use it. I can understand the point from that perspective, but when we talk about if you are dealing with the parity, it becomes a bit like,
Jeremy,
you can situate me in what context you mean. The
parity aspect is about the fact that even we marginalize even like the way you just took it. When I talked about that, the first time, like, I was talked about that even at the UN summit. I was like, how do women how do women suffer more than men in this kind of situation? And I got explained. Okay. For example, when you come to Africa, for example, let's suppose we are the ones suffering from that, right? So let's even forget about let's take even drought. Okay. When there is drought, please, women suffer more than us, because they are the one like that bear all the domestic burdens, take care of children. Sometimes when there is no water, they are the one that take long distances to go and get water and bring to us, feed the family and all those stuff. But when it comes to finding solution, sometimes we forget them. About the discrimination in the UN system or in the policy makers or decision makers and all those stuff, this is true, please. Yes, we do have women that lead, but please, the percentage is still slow. Now, about what a government can do, like a solution to this. Governments, they are the decision makers. They should normally curb their law system and also bring the climate action into their law systems. Meaning into, for example, when you take the rules and regulations, the new rules and regulations, they should try to inculcate the climate actions. If climate action was inculcated into the law system of this country, I am very sure electric motorcycle company shouldn't be expensive more than the traditional motors we're using. So what, apart from that, what can a government also do? We have also, like, the government should be bringing this parity into the system when it comes to climate action. Yes, it's very nice. You know, we have our governments. It's very easy. Our leaders have become like tourists. When it comes to UN summits for climate change, they carry their families. They go to the climate change conferences, and at the end, they just go shopping and they come back. When they come to their countries, nothing very concrete is done. I'm realistic, and people are going to hate me for that. This is a very big issue.
Give me your last word. What advice do you have for either governments, organizations, and individuals? What last words do you have for them?
We need to enable corporations. What at the organizational level? Like, the government should be like cooperating with organizations. I just talked about GEP Togo right now. Like, we should rather be like respondent, like always be very like active when it comes to problems, rather than waiting for, you know, we should work with cooperation. We should cooperate. We should inform and educate people, you know, as the government. We should participate into that, and we should also bring policies about climate action.
So, Ms. Maimuna, what advice do you have for either government, organizations, or individuals?
Yeah, I'll just start by saying that we have to reduce our carbon footprint as individual, and we have to raise awareness toward our communities and all those things. We have to conduct some research to have more solution about the climate crisis. And I won't repeat what he said. We have to collaborate together. You know, in Benin, we have a lot of organizations that protect environment, organization of climate change. We have to collaborate to have a coalition that can work together to raise more our voices in order to have more strong policies about climate change and environment. What we can say, we have to more educate our people, and I can talk about education at the low level.
Okay, the basic level.
Yeah, the basically. Since even if you have your small child, you have to tell him you have to behave like eco. You have to be ecologic. Okay. You have to do not do what you see your parents doing it. You have to if you eat,
so we have
if
to
you
change
drink
their
water,
mindset.
you have
change
to
their mindset from the beginning.
Mindset from the beginning. So that's what I can say. Education, and capacity building. We have to build our capacity in communities, in the youth organization, and all over the world. We have to raise our voice more than we are doing it. We have to put more effort, because those Western people, as you said, they are more industrialized now, but we are not industrialized. We are paying the
price more than
there. And now that we are going to be industrialized, we can't, because we have to use our fossil fuel, we have to use our natural resources, but we can't, because we are afraid about the next generation. Okay. But we have to think more than we should, or we're doing it. So that's what I can say. We have to be more said together we are stronger, so we have to collaborate together.
We need to have one voice. Mr. Daniel, what is your latest ambition?
Yeah, you know, in this country, if you do not get yourself into problem, you will never know there are laws and policies working. When you get yourself in problem, and you know this country, laws and policies are working.
Yeah.
So I can't say the government is not doing anything, but they need to do monitoring and, supervising, because the law will be out there in books. Mm-hmm. If you don't get problem and come, you will not know it's there. Okay. So maybe dissemination of information for the people to be aware. And now those who are stubborn, because there will be a law not to do this, not to do this, but we human beings, us, we go there as we doing like how we wish. So law enforcement, we need to be there, and especially for the the companies that produce carbon dioxide. It is advised that once there's a company that the emission of carbon dioxide level is high, they need to get a small forest around the company, so that it will help in reducing the emission of the carbon dioxide. And I won't talk much for the other ordinary citizens. They should be main citizens, not spectators. Okay. Because if you will wait every time for the government and international organization to come and help us, they are enjoying with their girlfriend, as you say, outside there. But when a disaster happens right now, we are the ones who are going to suffer. Most. So we should take our destiny in hand and hope for the best. Yeah.
Okay, so on this note, we are about to wrap up the show. Thank you, Mr. Latif Wali. Thank you, Ms. Maimouna Adamu, and also Mr. Daniel Agbebleu for your submissions on the program. We were talking about clarifying the rules for immediate action. So as an organization, you have to raise your voice. You have to cooperate with other organizations for the same goal. And as an individual, when you see a problem, you have to take action to remedy such problems. And as for government, they are the main policy makers. We are pleading on them to further strengthen some of the policies they have done to show more of their commitment and take action, so that everything that we are looking out for in terms of reducing our carbon footprints, changing our way of life, and also reducing or minimizing the effects of climate change, we'll be able to do that for the next generation. Thank you very much. You can watch us every Tuesdays and Thursdays, and also catch a repeat on Sundays. Follow us on Facebook, The Key Point with double I, and also on YouTube, New World TV, The Key Point playlist. See you next week. Bye-bye.